And welcome back to the Buckle Up Podcast universe with Brandon Rush and Mama Rush. If this is your first time coming to the show, I'm actor Brandon Rush. Because I can't talk today. I've been in about 81 TV shows and movies, some of the biggest shows ever created in the last 15 years. And my mom, who is my co host on this show, she is a pharmaceutical sales specialist. So she decided to join me on this adventure, and we have been very blessed. We have had guests from around the world in the 136 episodes we have done since April 9th of 2025. And we're very excited. Right now, we reach 76 countries and 878 cities around the world. We're going to have a very special guest on here today, Stephenie Rodriguez, and I'm going to read her personal bio on here, but I will have her also tell it on the show itself. Also, if you're interested in being a guest before I talk about Stephenie, you're welcome to write me at Brandon Rush with two H's on Instagram. That's BRANDONRUSHH on Instagram, or our Buckle Up podcast handle on Instagram. So that's Buckle Up with podcast on Instagram as well. A bit about Stephenie. Let's see here. New York Day Friday. Okay, so she had a few things going on, but I'm trying to get. She is Puerto Rican. However, she married an Aussie and has been living in Australia since 1997. She is proudly now competing in parafencing for Team USA, and she also is a tech founder, Changemaker ambassador for the Global Fund, which raised $11.34 billion for HIV and TB and malaria last year at the G20. So yeah, that's a little bit about her, but I'm about to let her in. I have to bring Mama Rush over here as well, so I'll be back with you momentarily. Let's see here, pause that recording. Stephenie, hello. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
We're doing great. Stephenie, I wanted to say thank you so much and welcome to the Buckle Up Podcast universe with Brandon Rush and
Mama Rush.
Mama Rush. Hello, Mama Rush.
Hello, Stephenie. You are so beautiful.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I thank my Puerto Rican roots for all of that, and my Cherokee Native American Indian roots for my cheekbones and chin.
Okay. All right, you got quite the combination there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a
And then,
mutt.
oh yeah, you are. And Stephenie, will you tell our audience where you're reporting in live from today?
I am an American, born and bred in New York, but I am in Sydney, Australia at the moment.
Okay. Wow. How long you been in Sydney, Australia for?
I came over to Australia in 1997. I married an Aussie
Okay.
and he took me down under, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Wow. That's pretty impressive. A New Yorker turned half Australia. Kind of like Mel Gibson. He was originally from Australia. I think he was originally from New York
Yeah,
and then moved to Australia, excuse me.
and there are even fewer Puerto Ricans here.
Really?
So we're rare. We're very excited. The community is buzzing about Bad Bunny coming in concert at the end of the month.
Amazing.
So he's making his way down here. So we're pretty excited to welcome him.
Absolutely. I'm excited for that too. It's amazing that you have a bit of an Aussie twang in there, like although you're
Well, you
American.
you spend 20 some years anywhere and you're going to pick up a twang. So I've spent, if you add up my years of age, and I'm not going to do that for the
Don't do that.
listeners,
Yeah,
but
you're good.
if you did, you'd find that I've been here just as many years as I was in the US.
Holy smoke.
So I'm 50-50.
Yeah.
Well, not 50, but 50. Yeah,
Yeah, I know
you
what you
get it.
mean. Yeah, absolutely. Well, today, Stephenie, it's all about you. We're so excited to have you on here. Right now we have 18.8 million viewers and listeners in 70. I think
Wow.
it says 78 countries. Either 76 or 78. I think I saw that earlier, and then 868 cities around the world. So we're happy to have you here to tell us all about your life and your story, wherever you want to start. We're happy to go there.
Well, I mean, we already know that I came to Australia in 97 and I'm Puerto Rican from New York.
Uh-huh.
I've been a little bit of a tech geek my entire life with a curiosity for things that helped make the world better, and not dating myself again, but I did work in the tech bubble in 2000, working for CMGI out of Boston, based in Miami, working in Latin America. So that would put me 26 years plus in tech.
Okay. Oh
So
wow.
again, not dating myself, but giving you a little
Okay.
bit of a timeline on my professional career, with a passion for things that help make life better, and worked for very large tech companies, moved to Australia. And my husband, at the time, a doctor from South Australia, we met, and I was living in LA, in Santa Monica.
Oh,
And
I live in San
he took
Marcos. Yes.
me, he took me to Darwin, Australia. Now, there wasn't much about Australia in the media that you could know about, and being in love and following the call, and for me, love had to be something big and romantic if I was going to say yes. And I'd actually stood in a little bit of a background on this. I had
Okay.
actually stood in the back of St. Monica's church in 1996 after a bad breakup, and there was a 5 o'clock mass with a really cool priest, and on Easter he would put ears on and be the Priester bunny. He
Oh,
was
wow.
like that cool. And the 5 o'clock mass attracted all of the young people who would never make it up for Sunday service. So, it was a younger audience and a bit more of a practical message in religion. And I wasn't raised Catholic, I was raised Christian, but it felt good to go and share that in a community. So I would go on Sundays at 5 to St. Monica's, beautiful church. And I remember standing in the back of the church and saying, you know what, God, I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready to meet the man I'm going to marry. Bring it on. And I'm done.
Yeah.
And I would advise listeners, never try and throw a curveball at God or whatever you believe in, because when you
Yeah.
say it, you speak it into existence. And
Absolutely.
that is exactly what I did. So
Mhm.
I'm saying this in the back of this church. I mean, I wasn't even committed enough to sit down. I was an outlier. I was like, I'll stand next to the door, just, not so, so literally. But I said it. And about 3 weeks later, I was invited to a cocktail party in West Hollywood. I was working in West Hollywood, and my friends were the GM of a hotel in West Hollywood. And I got invited to come up for a GM's cocktail party on a Friday. And I didn't go because I forgot about it or something. I don't know. And then about 3 weeks later, I wind up in Vegas. I wind up meeting this Aussie doctor and his family in Vegas. And I would later learn that they were at that cocktail party
Oh,
that
wow.
I missed
Mm.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And after one day of meeting this man, he said to me, "This is going to make an amazing story to tell at our wedding dinner."
Ooh.
So you
Mm.
talk about dates with destiny
Yeah.
and speaking into existence what you want. This was it was a very powerful occurrence in my life, and
Mhm.
it would lead me exactly to where I was meant to go. Now, all of my family are on the East Coast.
Okay.
Probably, most of them didn't have passports like most Americans. So to go from, being a Navy brat in Norfolk, Virginia, the
Oh,
Hampton
wow.
Roads area, to working in Washington, D.C., moving to LA, and now Australia, my family really couldn't comprehend, that I was going to the end of the earth. And I had never been. So I did it
Okay.
for love, like
Yeah.
I had, weighed in for. But Darwin, let me tell you, at the time, if anyone's ever watched Crocodile Dundee,
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
about Darwin. So
Really?
that's the Northern Territory for you. And at the time, it was the beginning of the internet, 1997. So even before the bubble. And I met a kid, and he was in uni coding, and he could code stuff and I could sell stuff because I understood it. And we built some of the Australian government's first websites. So
Mm.
but Darwin in itself is Australia, to give people a geography lesson, and especially for the American users who don't study geography well. And I say that because that was me.
Yeah.
Australia has 7 states or territories. It's as big of a landmass as the United States.
Mm.
So if you
Oh, wow.
think about it being that big, but it's only cut up into 7 pieces. The piece that I lived in, called the Northern Territory, faces the sea up north that separates us from Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, the equator. But it only had 200,000 people living in the territory when I moved there. So
Okay.
to go from Los Angeles, Santa Monica, in a very urban area, to a very rural area in the tropics, because it sits on the tropic side of the portion of Australia that faces the equator, and know that there were very few people, but most of them were the indigenous Australia,
Oh,
made for
wow.
a very different environment than living in Santa Monica.
Very much so.
And I went sight unseen. I just followed love and went to Australia. So it made for a very interesting time. But starting technology then, and then coming back to Miami in 2000 and working for CMGI and the early tech of 2000, getting
Okay.
sent home at the end of 2000. Thank you for playing. Like, everyone in tech got retrenched. You're
Oh, wow.
probably,
Okay.
Brandon, too young to remember the
A
bubble.
little bit. I'm sorry, but if
Y-
you don't mind explaining it for our audience too, because of people that might not know, that'd be amazing. You're doing a great job.
Oh, well, the tech bubble of 2000 was the beginning. It was the gold rush of websites and what everyone thought the internet would be. And I worked for the search engine before Google called Alta Vista. So
Okay.
Google didn't exist yet. Yahoo was up and coming. So people were making a land grab for all of the technologies that were the early web chats that were going on between Stanford, really the geeks in the labs that
Mhm.
were coding and doing these things. Companies were really doubling down on ad networks. I mean, if we look at what people were buying in technology, and I know this is not a tech podcast, but the
It's okay.
first things that we bought on the internet as humans and consumers was travel.
Okay.
The airlines were the first one in because they had the systems and protocols, Sabre and Amadeus, and the inventory that you could go into their websites and buy a plane ticket and not have to talk to a travel agent. And that was
Mm,
the friction that it solved.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was very exciting. The second thing people bought on the internet was porn, but first was travel.
mm,
So you can fact check these things, but
And I
the
believe
but
you. Yeah.
travel was the first.
Okay.
So I had this mad idea with my doctor husband that I wanted to build a website that that talked about travel, because I was flying from Darwin to Puerto Rico every year to visit my family. At the time, I had to go through 6 different cities, and it took about 36 hours to
Wow.
get from here on the globe to there on the globe,
Yeah.
like halfway around and a little bit over, but far. And I wanted to review my journey. And so I said to my husband, I said, I want to build this website called Been There, Done That. And he said, oh, the internet will never stick, Steph. And
Oh,
he's a
wow.
doctor. So
Yeah.
man of the book and the academic and the lab coat.
Yeah.
And every time I see him now, I look at him and say, TripAdvisor, I
Yeah.
told you. I told you,
Yeah.
because TripAdvisor was exactly what we would have built and done, and they did it first. And, if TripAdvisor had an age, it'd be in its mid 20s by now. So you look at the maturity of that layer of information about travel. But I've always had a travel bug. So
mhm,
uh, in my career, I after coming back from the bubble,
Mhm.
we moved to Sydney from Darwin in 2001, and I'd been in Miami for a year, and I'd made some very good friends with a company that were in print, and they owned a magazine called Ocean Drive. Now, if you've been to Miami ever, you've seen Ocean Drive.
mhm.
Ocean Drive and that media group now own uh, Georgia, the Peach Magazine. They own LA Confidential, Vegas. They're very good. The Hamptons, Gotham in New York. I think it's called Greenspun Media, but they own this formula for localizing cities and really giving the the local something to look at, but also the visitor without
Okay.
being time out and just purely touristy. So I had this idea of bringing Ocean Drive to Australia. And Ocean Drive did not have in 2001 a lifestyle magazine.
Really?
So, and let me just also add, I had not spent one day in publishing.
Okay.
So I did not have the first clue
How
as
did
to what the heck I was doing, but I felt led. And also, I was mad at the internet. I had given a whole 3 years to the internet and believed in it and got sacked like everyone else did at
Yeah.
the end of the crash of the bubble. When the bubble burst, everyone who was in tech at the end of 2000 got a thank you for playing, goodbye.
Oh, wow.
And it was ugly. Like, it was
Yeah.
one of the GFC of technology, but it was a very big reset on like how technology would evolve and companies would build, but people were throwing money at websites and ad networks, and that's what 2000, if you look historically in tech, was.
Okay.
So I was mad at the internet. So I went into print media and
Okay.
I raised money and I launched Ocean Drive in Australia. Australia did not have a lifestyle magazine.
Yeah.
Australia did not understand metrosexual as a word. Australia, if you went into the news agents, like the magazine shops, like newsstand, there would be men's, women's, boating, cooking, real estate, gay, straight. It was very by demographic, by
Okay.
gender, by interest, but there was nothing that everybody who liked nice things could read. So we didn't just have the challenge of bringing a bigger format, which Ocean Drive is known for, but also creating this whole new audience.
Okay.
So I just decided I'd take that one on.
Yeah.
Again, without any fear or understanding of a monopolized market. And Australia at the time had two very big players. The Packers and the Murdochs. Rupert Murdoch comes from Australia. So their organizations owned all of the media from TV to radio to print.
Oh, wow.
And they had their titles. And if you're going to be in magazines, you make money by amortizing the cost of the staff and everything over multiple titles. So you might get one story and reuse it 6 different ways on 6 different titles, but it saves all the unit cost around one thing one thing has to carry the cost of everything.
Yeah.
Also, they didn't have a lifestyle magazine. And I was the new kid on the block as an expat. So I launched with the biggest magazine event in the history of Australia
Oh, wow.
in Sydney. My PR firm and I hosted a party that cost $190,000 on the night because we were doubling down that
Yeah.
was the way to buy user adoption, generate buzz, bring advertisers, and create a vibe. And vibe is very much used now in marketing and advertising, but it was something that this, like Ocean Drive, was very good at before the internet, was creating a vibe that everyone wanted to be seen, be in, be a part of, and a culture, if you would.
Yes.
So understanding the creating of culture.
Mhm.
So I really shook up the landscape by being this upstart and
Yeah.
doing something nobody had done before in launching this magazine. And suffice to say, I paid for it.
Oh,
The
really?
Australian oh my goodness, every single Sunday, the newspapers, there was a gossip column in the back of the Sunday paper. And one of the journalists there who wrote the gossip column would have a pot shot at me every single Sunday, whether
Well, you
where
say
I
it though,
was.
not to cut you off,
Pardon?
but you feel that, do you feel they were intimidated by what you brought to the table?
Yes, and also a direct order by their bosses to
Oh,
take me down,
Really?
wow.
discredit me. Oh
Oh,
yeah. I mean
wow.
the advertising trades like Media Week and others in Australia, would write op-eds saying that we were smoke and mirrors. Who was she? How dare she? And
Mm,
being that I didn't have the skill set to know about,
mm,
the technical aspects of print media, I hired away an art director from Marie Claire and the editor of Women's Weekly who had the chops in publishing that I didn't. I
mhm,
brought the magic and the recipe, but I had the players on the team to do the right thing.
mm,
Okay.
So that was done well, but the landscape, I had created a lot of buzz and a lot of jealousy,
mm,
and I had a target on my back that I had to prepare every Sunday for how I was going to get trashed.
Yeah.
mm,
And you develop some thick skin when you do that. But
mm,
it print was never my first choice, but it was definitely a learning ground of storytelling.
mhm,
Absolutely.
And that's what we were really good at. And I mean, I would write a lot of the magazine myself because we couldn't afford a massive editorial team. So I would find the stories, and I knew what Ocean Drive's formula was for success because I'd observed it, been it, lived it, and was in it in
Yeah.
Miami. So
mhm.
easy to know how to, Mama Rush, how to bake the cake. I knew it all. I had the recipe, and we've
Well,
done it more than once.
well, I
Yeah.
know
It's like it was like
that.
a sweet potato pie. You got to know what you're doing, but if you know, you know.
You know, you know.
So,
Well,
Stephanie, you're a
I'm
soul
so
sister. I can tell.
yeah. Well, I'm so glad you
uh,
had the fortitude to stand up against that
Yeah.
whole process. But with that, I want to talk a little bit about when you traveled the world. You've traveled the world for business and purpose.
I
Take us
have.
back to, and I was reading a little bit about your background. Brandon shared that with me. And I want you to
Well,
take us back to a trip that you had in 2019. What was happening in your life at that time when you stepped onto that plane?
I had quit publishing in
Oh,
'04
oh,
Mm-hmm.
and
did they run you
pivoted.
away or you just were
And
done with it?
I was done with it because one, I had broken up with the internet because I was mad at it because
Yeah.
it had
Mm-hmm.
dumped me. So
Mm-hmm.
I had reconciled with the internet. I created a company called Mighty Media Group, and we were consulting to travel companies around the world. And I was
Mm-hmm.
on the plane a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
because of this, I launched a startup in 2016, 2017 called Jozu for Women. And my
Mm-hmm.
thoughts were to create a product and a community where women felt safe to rate and discuss safety as it related to travel because I was the
Mm-hmm.
customer.
Mm-hmm.
And we started in one direction, but like many startups, we pivoted and we created a product called WanderSafe. And
Mm-hmm.
WanderSafe, really, we took away the premise of being exclusive for women, and we said we're for anybody who feels vulnerable. But we created an app and a beacon, a small handheld device that I developed with a retired CIA U.S. safety officer
Wow.
that
Mm-hmm.
gave you the tools you needed to stop a potential threat from happening, and also a means to call for help quickly if you were in trouble. And I
Oh.
stepped on a plane to Nigeria on a roadshow to Nigeria and India, Africa and
Mm-hmm.
India, with the goal of forming partnerships for WanderSafe in Nigeria. And at the time, and I don't know that it's different, but with 290 million people, Nigeria has 10,000 women and girls a day sexually assaulted.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
So I knew that my product that created safety tools was going to be really useful in this place
Yeah.
because at the time, Australia, and I'm not sandbagging Australia, but Australia was very much in denial of we
Mm-hmm.
don't have that problem. It's
Really.
not that doesn't live on our doorstep. We're safe, and COVID taught everybody about domestic and gender-based violence because people were locked up with their oppressor, and it
Really.
brought the problem bubbling to the surface in a much bigger way
Mm-hmm.
everywhere as a
Mm-hmm.
planet.
Oh,
But
wow.
back in that day, I went to a conference by an organization called Hive that brings African leaders together. I was hoping to put as many partnerships and tentacles out because my big, hairy, audacious goal, and I said it in 2019 in April at the UN meeting in Geneva, I
Mm-hmm.
said I was on a mission to impact 1 billion lives by 2025. And I was going to do it in support of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. And that
Mm-hmm.
was my mission in life. And me going to these places was acting on that promise, that commitment to my purpose. And
Yeah.
I was doing that with WanderSafe. So that
Mm-hmm.
was that was what was in my head, Mama Rush, when I got on
Mm-hmm.
that plane.
Wow.
And I had a very productive week. I met
Mm-hmm.
with some startups. There were some great meetings. I met with the Ebru family who owned the Guardian newspaper for
Oh, wow.
Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Some great media, like it was a wonderful trip. On the
Mm-hmm.
very last day, I attended an organization called Travel Massive, had 80 travel executives and asked me to speak for them. I went out to that meeting. I spoke, and then the organizers asked me to go outside and take photos with the media and with the delegates, and I agreed to, as a good speaker does. And I stood outside on the spot while they gathered folks around me to take a group photo, as you do, and
Mm-hmm.
talk to the press one after the other. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I went on to India the next day, did exactly the same thing in India for a week,
Yeah.
came back to Australia for a day, and then went on to Boston as my plans were,
Mm-hmm.
and would have an experience that would change my life forever. Because little did I know that I left Nigeria with something I did not pack in my suitcase. And that thing that I left with was called Plasmodium falciparum in Latin, but translates to English as cerebral malaria. And
Oh.
cerebral malaria takes exactly 2 weeks to take down its host. It's a parasite, not
Mm-hmm.
a virus, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes exactly 2 weeks to begin to multiply in the host system to
Mm-hmm.
where it incapacitates them to a coma, for which, in many instances, the host is overtaken by the parasite and the host succumbs.
He's
In
yeah.
short, you die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I was traveling to India, back to Australia, and on to Boston. And exactly 2 weeks to that Sunday in Nigeria, I was in the Boston airport flying back to Australia, and I would have a seizure in the Delta Lounge in Logan Airport, be ambulanced unconscious, and be taken to Massachusetts General Hospital, where I was quickly and rapidly deteriorating and given a 2% chance of survival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so when you fell ill and learned it was cerebral malaria, what do
I
you
didn't
remember?
learn anything. I
Oh,
didn't learn anything. I
yeah.
just
Well, when they,
fell out in
when
the
you,
airport.
yeah, yeah. And then what do you remember about that moment? Your life just shifted. You said you're in hospital.
I
You
don't even
remember
remember the
that?
day.
What?
Really?
No, the day I was with a friend, and so I have her recount to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one thing, and it was vague, and it came back to me after. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my son, who's turning 20 this month, was 13 at the time. And he said, Mama, I want you to bring me back a pair of Nike TNs because I want them from America so that they're not knockoffs from China. So can you please bring them back for me from the States? I wear a size X and I want them, and he gave me the specifications for these tennis shoes. And I always, try to bring him back something. So I called Foot Locker. I don't remember this, but I did. I asked him if they had the Nike TNs in his size. They said yes. And my friend Liz and I went on to the Foot Locker and picked up these shoes. But where the Uber dropped us off, we had to walk a bit into a pedestrian mall. I was
Mm-hmm.
very winded when I got there and sat down while they brought out the shoes, paid
Mm-hmm.
for the shoes. We went to a bagel shop, like Bagel Brothers or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this, but we ordered some bagels. I had a trainee. I got the bagel that was wrong. I acted like a 2-year-old and spat it out. I'm like, this is embarrassing, but it's true.
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
spat it out and had a temper tantrum about a bagel. And my friend is looking at me like, who's the alien invading your body? because
Yeah.
I don't know who you are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And literally, cerebral malaria is as it sounds. It attacks your brain.
Dang.
So it was up in my lobes, making a mess and destroying my brain.
Oh,
Mm.
gee.
And again, she's like, I don't know who you are, but we need to get on the plane and get home as quick as possible because you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
So so we go back to the hotel, put the shoes in the suitcase, and go on to the airport. And I don't and I'm a frequent traveler. I have TSA and all that jazz. You know,
Mhm.
I've got priority. We get through the fast lane. But she said I was moving like I was moving through butter. So slow, in fact,
Oh,
the
wow.
people behind me were complaining. And she
Oh,
was
Mhm.
really?
really embarrassed. Yeah, yeah. This was, I don't remember this, but the
Yeah.
way
Wow.
she tells it is real. And for me being super organized with my liquids and my lap, I know everything. Like I got it down to a science. But I
Mhm.
Yeah.
was like moving in slow motion that people were behind me yelling. We get to the lounge. We're in the wrong lounge. They're like, you should be better off at gate whatever. We go over there, sit down, and we're at the window, and our plane is out the window. We can see it. Now, I don't remember this, but vaguely, I recall we saw our luggage going up in the plane. Like we could
Mhm.
see the, the carousel,
Mhm.
the thing
Mhm.
taking. So we're like, yay, we're going home. And she goes to get a glass of champagne because I am making her crazy because I've
Yeah.
acted like a 2-year-old. And like,
Yeah.
I slept all the way in the Uber to the airport. So
Okay.
I was very tired and demonstrating not the usual Energizer Bunny stuff that I am.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
she's thinking, and logically, I had traveled 40,000 kilometers in 2 weeks, Africa, India, Australia, Boston. I've done more than a flight attendant. So
Oh,
not a
wow.
wonder that I was tired, not a wonder
Hmm.
that I might have had a bit of airplane flu, and you get off in a snuffly. I traveled 40,000 kilometers by plane. So what we thought was maybe a bit of just jet lag and a bit of airplane flu wasn't. But I
Yeah.
didn't know that. And me being a tough guy was like, I'll see a doctor when I get home because
Mhm.
she was very worried. She's like, you need to go to like a urgent care. And I'm like, you don't understand American healthcare. We go to
Yeah.
urgent care on Friday. We're going to be still there on Sunday, sitting in the
Yeah.
lobby. No one's missing an eye or
Yeah.
an arm. Like this is not how I plan the weekend, and we're not doing that. So
Mhm.
but
Wow.
I do not recall Mama
Mhm.
Rush being ambulance, but fallen out. And so she
Mhm.
was getting a glass of champagne, and a man said to her, "Are you traveling with your sister?" And she said, "No, my friend." And he said, "Something's not right with her. You should go check on
Wow.
her." And she came back, and I was having a full on seizure, shaking, drooling. My face was fixed.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and she looked at me and, like any young person would do, she's like, "Is there a doctor in the house?" Pretty much. And he runs over and he says, "I'm a doctor."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they put me in the recovery position on the floor. Another saint, a woman, comes over. She's a doctor. One's like trying to get my vitals. The other one's asking Liz what I've had. Am I allergic?
Mhm.
This is a full on crisis in the Delta Lounge. And then
Yeah.
a third person comes over. And I will never know to this day who those three people were who came to my aid in the Delta. I would love to know because I like to thank them. But maybe when they
Yes.
read my book, they will come back and
Yes.
email me or in some
Or
way
maybe
tell
see
me
the
that they would.
podcast. Yes,
Yeah.
and understand
Maybe
who
they will
would
come
help.
back and tell
Yeah.
me that they were in the Logan Airport on September 29th of 2019 in
Mhm.
the afternoon going towards LA. Like somebody will say they saw something. I would love to know.
Yeah.
But I was ambulanced. The paramedics came, the marshals came, put me on a gurney, grabbed our luggage, took our luggage off the plane, threw us in an ambulance. The paramedics and the police who took Liz and I down and put us in the ambulance on the tarmac. One of them hugged Liz and said, "I hope your friend gets better." Liz was in her 20s at the time and, never been to America, doesn't know what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
terrified for me. And she doesn't know why her friend, who's otherwise healthy, is unconscious in
Hmm.
the airport. But it was literally like a medical show. Like they were shoving people out of the way and
Mhm.
running down the. You would think if you
Yeah.
saw this was dramatic, But I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
everyone who was in the lounge who saw it, like you could have heard a pin drop, Liz said, when the paramedics came and threw me on the gurney.
Oh
Like
wow.
everyone stopped whatever they were doing and looked and went, oh my goodness. Um, but, to get to Massachusetts General Hospital, and if you were going to get sick, I highly recommend Massachusetts General Hospital. It's the Harvard Teaching Hospital. So
Okay.
I was
Yes.
blessed.
You
I
were
was
blessed beyond
blessed.
measure. One of the
So when I
best
think about
hospitals in the world.
divine timing. So,
Yeah.
I paused for an inflection point because things like meeting my ex, not the first time, but the second time that would bring me to Australia, that was divine timing.
Yeah.
Me
Mm-hmm.
being in Boston in the airport, I
Absolutely.
won that trip in a raffle.
Really?
I didn't
Oh.
even plan to go to Boston. I won
Yeah.
that trip in a raffle, but the times were specific. I had to go for that time
Mm-hmm.
on this trip, but that got me to Mass Gen.
Yeah.
That was
Mm-hmm.
divine timing. So,
Absolutely.
in me stating that I wanted to impact 1 billion lives by 2025, in that 2019 April, UN meeting that I stood up and I said it. And that interview is on YouTube. If you look
Okay.
up WSIS and my
Mm-hmm.
name, you will find a 7-minute talk that I gave at the UN. And I opened my mouth and I said, my name is Stephenie Rodriguez, and I'm on a mission to impact 1 billion lives by 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So I said it and I kept on saying it and I kept
Yeah.
on saying it. And the universe heard me and went, you want 1 billion? Well, there's some tax on that. You don't get
Yeah.
a big number without a bit of tax.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, in hindsight, I look at these inflection points, these moments that happen that would take me to where I'm sitting in front of you now and
Mm-hmm.
what's happened to me as such. So, in waking up 11 days later, so what's happened in between me falling out? I don't even remember going to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
So what was I thinking? I wasn't thinking anything. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything. And I wouldn't know anything till 11 days later when I wake up and blink my eyes. And I heard things in the coma. I heard my business partner, her name is Fiona. She's an Australian woman. I heard her voice. And I remember it was like being underwater in a shallow fountain, but it was
Wow.
gray.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very specific, this memory I have. And it was like gray, but like the water wasn't deep. But in order for me to hear anything, the
Mm-hmm.
speaker had to put their face in the water to talk to me because
Mm.
I was like here. So
Yeah.
whatever was going on around me, but it was like Fiona put her face in the water to my ears. And she said, Stephenie, you have cerebral malaria. You are very sick, but you are going to be fine. And we are here and we love you. And I remember thinking to myself at that time, I can't see you. I don't know where here is. I don't know why you're here because I knew I'd gone to Boston and I knew Fiona was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So where is here? I'm
Yeah.
here. She's here, but where is here? So I don't know any of that. And then I remember my friend Liz, who I traveled with, and I hear her again under the water, sticking her head in with her boyfriend and screaming. And I was like, why are you screaming so loud? She's like, we're here. We love you. And Chase is here. And I'm like, why are
Mm-hmm.
you screaming? She
Yeah.
was very loud. And Chase, her boyfriend, again, we left Chase in Australia. I had
Uh-huh.
left, went with Liz to Boston. So I don't know where here is. I
Uh-huh.
remember my aunt and my brother, and I have the most wonderful brother. God love him. His name is Michael. He lives in New York. Michael and my auntie Marcy. Now, my auntie Marcy is 1 year older than me. She's a
Uh-huh.
baby of 8 children.
Oh
So my
wow.
dad was the oldest, Marcy was the youngest. But I hear Marcy and Michael again in that gray area, but under the water, and they are playing a song.
Mm.
And they are playing His Eye is on the Sparrow from
Amen.
Sister Act 2,
Yeah.
Lauren Hill's version at the piano. And I love that song and I sing that
Mhm.
song. And they knew that. So they were hoping that they could use music and they didn't know what to do. And I would learn later.
Take your time. You're
that
good.
I had a 2% chance of surviving.
Wow.
Yeah.
I tell you.
So my family was flown in to say goodbye.
Mm.
My 13-year-old was flown from Australia to Boston to see his mother on full life support with 11 liters of water. And they had given me methylene blue, and I was completely, full organ failure with sepsis and malaria.
Mm.
And Harvard doctors, smartest in the world,
Yeah.
had said 3 times, she doesn't have 5 minutes. Say your prayers, call the priest, say goodbye, do whatever you do. But that's the likelihood that she will come out of this on 3 different occasions.
Mm.
And so when I woke up and I was intubated, I was paralyzed, and the only thing I could do was open my eyes for a while. Nobody knew that I was awake for a while because I couldn't move. I
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
speak.
Yeah.
And all I could do was look at this clock on the wall and watch the time pass and kind of fade in and fade out. So I remember a full day of me not really being conscious, not being able to do anything, but becoming aware of my surroundings and people coming and going and nurses, and my son was there. But I remember my family coming in and seeing me and crying. And I felt, because I couldn't speak, but I felt that there was a sense of relief and a sense of terror,
Yeah.
but I didn't know why. And I remember my body and looking at my body, and my toes, I could see at the end of my legs, and my toes were sticking out of bandages, like so. And
Mm-hmm.
they were purple. And I'd had a pedicure of some chocolate nail polish put on, but my toes and my nail polish were the same color. And
Oh,
I'm
no.
like,
Mm.
that's a little strange. So
Mhm.
my toes were turning black. My hand was bandaged. I couldn't scratch my nose and it itched. So there was some pretty strange stuff going on that I didn't understand. And people would come in and talk to me and say, I couldn't, I'm left handed. My left hand wasn't bandaged, but I couldn't move it. So I
Yeah.
had no way of communicating really with anyone except for people telling me. And again, that happiness that people were feeling because I was awake, but they knew the trepidation of the fact that I was paralyzed, that
Mm.
the life that I led before was not going to be the life I would have moving forward.
Mm.
Mhm.
Well.
So, because
Right.
malaria attacks the brain, it was
Mm-hmm.
also the question of what what is she going to be? Because they had been told she might wake up a vegetable, she
Yeah.
might wake up cognitively impaired. So we don't know until she's fully out of this what she didn't get damaged and what was residual.
Mhm.
So it was an inflection point on what my life and how my life would take from there. So
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, I resumed speech. I was able to start moving my limbs and surprised people. But I did it with a little secret, which if you've watched my TED talk,
Okay. With
of how I
Tar.
did that.
Okay.
Of how I did that, and I don't want to spoiler, but
Okay.
yes, I began to move my body and will my body to move again.
Oh.
And again, if you watch my TEDx talk on the TED network, you will
Mm-hmm.
see how. But a little inflection. I watched Beyonce's Homecoming documentary every night, and I'm Puerto Rican, love singing and dancing, and I willed my body to move.
Mm.
And I watched that documentary every night, every step, every note, every pop. I was doing it in my head
Yeah.
and doing it and willing my body to move. And I will never forget on about day 45, and I could move my left arm, but my right one was very slow. My right side of my body had 70% more damage than the left from sepsis and surviving severe sepsis. And
Mm.
I'll never forget the nurse came in And she said, "Hello, Stephanie, how you doing?" And I raised my right arm above my head and I waved to her. She cried and I cried.
Yeah.
And it was miraculous because going from being paralyzed to being able to move my arms in 45 days
Mm,
meant that I was going to recover to some
Amen.
degree.
mhm,
And I used that, and no one was with me those 2.5 hours of that documentary every night. That was me secretly rehabbing myself and
Yeah.
my brain to move. And I was going to move because I needed to get out of that bed. But Brandon, I'll tell you why, and Mama Rush, you will appreciate this. When
Yeah.
I woke up, my 13-year-old, I'm a single mom. I raised my son. My son was there, and I cried and I said, "Baby, I don't know how I'm going to take care of you. I'm here paralyzed in a foreign country, and although the U.S. is where I'm born, he's in Australia. So I don't know how I'm going to take care of you. I
Yeah.
mhm,
can't even take myself to the bathroom, more or
mhm.
less cook your meals, get you ready for school, you know." And he said to me, "Mom, life is 10% what you're given and 90% what you do for with it.
What?
Yeah.
90% what you do for." He was 13 years old.
He's 13 years
Got
old
me teared
talking
up.
like
I'm
that.
sorry.
It's
Look at,
true.
Yeah.
oh wow. Well, listen, I want to ask you a question. Where did you, do you think your inner strength comes from, especially during those darkest days, and that strength that keeps you going to today?
Well, my grandmother has passed, my dad's mom. She lived to 90, I think 97 years old, Puerto Rican woman who was a woman of faith. And
Mhm.
I've had a few inflection points in my life where it was very dark and I thought I had tapped out, like really, of everything I had to give. And my grandmother prayed for all of us religiously every day. And when I thought I don't have the strength anymore, I remembered two things. One, the prayers of my grandmother, and two, the genetic stock of my DNA, who are warriors, who are fighters. And I didn't know I was a fighter until the time for which I would be called to arms. And
Mm,
in fighting, it's really funny. In the course of my recovery, and I'll fast forward, I've had more than 600 nights in the hospital, Brandon, since then. I
mm,
just have spent 2 months in the hospital, December and January. We're in January now.
mhm,
Um, Two hip replacements on the same hip, recovery, hematoma, and I lost both of my feet in 2021. I
oh
am
wow.
a bilateral above ankle amputee. And if you go on my socials, Digital Goddess on Instagram, you will see photos of my entire journey.
Mm,
I'm a wheelchair fencer, which is a fighter in a combat sport. And I compete internationally now for Team USA. But
Amazing.
in losing my feet, uh, again, I said I wanted to impact 1 billion lives. That was my credo.
Yeah.
The universe heard me and said, "You want it, it's going to cost you." And you know what? I'm still paying for it.
mm,
However, when I said that that's what I wanted, with malaria 2 years ago, I was approached by an organization called the Global Fund. The Global Fund are the largest NGO that no one's ever heard of because they raise a lot of money for HIV, TB, and malaria prevention and programs in 120 countries. They're based in Geneva, and they again raise 65% of the global pool, but they don't raise it from individuals. They raise it from governments, civil societies like the Gates Foundation, philanthropy. And they tapped me and they said, "Will you be our change maker and our ambassador for this fundraising period that we have? We
mhm,
need to raise a lot of money." And COVID sidebarred us from malaria. Now, malaria kills a child under 5
Holy
every
smoke.
minute,
Yeah.
but we don't hear about it
Yeah.
because it's not sexy. But you know what? I'm a mom. And I
mhm,
feel that pain as you would of losing a child to malaria, and malaria is preventable. So when they approached me and invited me to Geneva and spoke to me and said, "You can make a difference because you can tell people that look like you why they need to care about people who don't."
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
said yes. And in working with them, we raised 11.34 billion US dollars at the G20.
Oh,
Congratulations.
11.34
congratulations.
billion.
Is outstanding.
But that is achieving a goal. I said a billion. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I knew that that's what I wanted. But
Mhm.
through my malaise, through my pain, through going through this terrible thing, to allow me to champion something that now I can die and say I did the thing I said I was going to do. And I'm not planning on dying anytime soon.
Uh,
But
Amen.
when I do, will I have accomplished what I said I wanted? That even though it was unattainable, I don't come from, the Gates Foundation family. I come from a very simple upbringing, very lower middle class American, and have traveled the world, been on stages, spoken at Westminster, been at the UN General Assembly in New York, places and stages I never thought of that
mhm.
a little girl from Virginia and New York would get to. But because I had a goal and understood my purpose,
Yes.
that
Yes.
my life, having a purpose and knowing it, allows you to deliver on the things that are most important.
Mhm.
And with WanderSafe and that mission of saving lives for the vulnerable people,
Mhm.
I'm so excited now to be back on that mission with WanderSafe, being able to move our app and take it to places, in bigger places than
Uh-huh.
ever before, using AI and what we're doing there. So in becoming a poster child for what disability looks like, defying
Mhm.
bias on disability. Because a lot of people think disability and people with disabilities shouldn't be at the fore, shouldn't be doing great things. And I love to challenge what people think about
Exactly.
disability all the time. So I walk on stages in high heels with bionic legs with no shame. You
Oh,
know,
Absolutely.
I
uh,
I am very proud of what and how I've been able to recover from such adversity of being paralyzed to para athlete. I'm
mm,
hoping to qualify for the LA 2028
Hey,
games
let's
in
oh
go.
2026. Like
wow.
that's my goal. And
Wow, you are a walking
Powerful.
miracle, and your story is, I mean, it's just miracles over miracles, and what God has you here for, a purpose. And with that, I want to ask a question, because I think about many of our viewers traveling internationally for missions, business, as well as tourism.
Mhm.
But what should they understand about the global health risk, vaccines, and preparations? Because I think
Well,
that matters.
it does matter. And like when I went to Nigeria, it wasn't my first trip to Africa.
Okay.
And I've been to 68 countries. So I'm
Mhm.
one to speak on global health because I've been to 68 countries.
Mhm.
And I had been to Kenya and on safari and had all you need to get yellow fever. And there's a yellow book that you get before traveling.
Mhm.
Hopefully, they will digitize this and make it universal, but a yellow book of your vaccinations, and do not skimp on warnings. I mean, it's really exciting because our free app WanderSafe will tell you what you need to know before you go. And it gives you biohealth. It tells you what you need from a vaccination. It'll tell you about the pollen count if you have allergies. It will
Mhm.
tell you about safe routes. But I did not, and to my and it, people say, why didn't you? I did not
Mhm.
take the malaria tablets. There was no vaccine at the time, and there is now, but in
Mhm.
2019 there was not. There were tablets, but they
Mhm.
made me hallucinate,
Oh,
and I could
wow.
not afford to be speaking at conferences hallucinating. So I put myself in social bubble wrap and didn't go outside of my hotel for the
Mhm.
risk of not meeting anything that could physically harm me,
Mhm.
human or otherwise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But there are, the health considerations that you should not ignore. You should ask your doctor or go to WanderSafe and ask, and find out what you should do. You should look at prophylactics that you should pack from your home country. and
Mhm.
take with you, because you may not be able to find them when you're visiting somewhere, and or by name or by
Yeah.
prescription. So in looking at what medicines you should take prophylactically, like
Mhm.
anti-malaria, clean water tablets, things for diarrhea, which are very common with just the change of water, food, etc. Your prescriptions that you might not be able to get if you need them.
Mhm.
I'm very one now to travel with a full suitcase
Yeah.
of every May.
That's
If
funny.
you get sick, you want to be traveling with me, because I got it all.
Absolutely.
Like I don't go out of my door without everything. Like that could be a zombie apocalypse and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yes. No.
Well, I'm so glad you shared that. Now, when you look back over your life now, do you feel this journey was part of your destiny and your assignment?
Yeah. I wouldn't I set it up because I knew what my purpose was.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
really think, and I do a lot of public speaking. I've spoken for Amex, Microsoft, SAP around the world. And I'm a resilience expert, as part of my daily life. I've got books coming out, etc. But in
Mhm.
in talking about resilience, it's important you know your purpose. And it
Yeah.
starts with purpose. And when you get clear on your purpose, you are able to make very conscious decisions when asked to do something or be a part of something or take a step forward. And you ask yourself, is this taking me to where I want to be? If no, then don't do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we go on a detour and it's scenic and it's pretty, but it's
Mhm.
taken us off path and it
Yeah.
takes up our time. And time is our biggest commodity. We are not guaranteed more time.
Mm.
So, it's very interesting. I have a saying now that Jack London said, who is considered to be the godfather of science fiction, but in 18 something, he said, I will not use my days trying to preserve them, like trying to stay alive.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna use my days to stay alive. I will use my time.
Amen.
And that for me has really become a mantra. I will use my time. So for as many days more. And I'm right now sitting in 6 years of literal overtime, like basketball. I'm in
Yeah.
overtime. And every
Absolutely.
day I wake up, every day, Mama Rush, I wake up, the first thing I do is I feel my body. If something hurts, I
Mhm.
say thank you.
Yeah.
That's enough. I say thank you. You know why?
Yeah,
Because pain tells me I'm still present.
that's
Amen.
I'm
correct.
still here. I am still
Mhm.
present.
Yeah.
So when I know the day that I wake up and I don't have any pain, I need to look for my wings because I've ascended.
Absolutely.
But if I wake
Absolutely.
up and I have pain, I'm like, I'm still here. Thank you.
A
That's day
beautiful thought.
whatever, whatever, whatever. From
Beautiful.
October 10th of 2019, that I know I'm 10/10/2019, I'm still here. And those are my days. And I don't know how many days I will get, but I
Yeah.
will use my time.
Stephenie,
Yeah.
that is absolutely amazing. I feel like I was in church, but I've been getting blessed by you today coming on here. You are
Thank
absolutely a
you.
wonderful
Thank you.
person. The quote you just did, that's actually the quote they use at the final Bond movie whenever he passes away. That speech
Yes,
that you
it
just
is.
said is the one that they use there.
I know.
Also, so in LA, I for 10 years I worked with the UCLA Adaptive Sports Program for able-bodied and then non-able-bodied people. That's given me the
Mhm.
opportunity to be around some wonderful people like Alvin Mayville and Michael Garofolo, who are both they're paralyzed from once from the waist down and once from the legs down. But they have people from all different backgrounds that work with kids, veterans, adults. With that being said, and I love it. It's changed my life. I love wheelchair basketball. It's tough, but it's
I have
competitive.
never tried doing it. My son has, but I've
Yeah.
never tried it. But I'm not that coordinated. Wheelchair fencing, our chairs are locked
Yes.
down.
How did you get into that? That's what I was
So
going to circle to.
okay, so wheelchair fencing found me, honestly. Um, I had come out of hospital, and again, 600 days plus, and a lot of that 2020 was during COVID. So I was locked in a hospital. My family couldn't come from the United
Oh
States.
my
My
God.
son could barely visit me, like 6 months at a time, no visitors.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even take me outside to get sunshine. So I
Mhm.
was really trapped with my thoughts,
Yeah.
myself, and getting operations. I couldn't get out of bed. And so after being isolated for so long, 2021, I get my legs and go through a process of becoming a bilateral osseointegrated bionic amputee. But I'm in a program in Australia for disabled people called the NDIS. And the
Okay.
National Disability Insurance Scheme is what it stands for, but they send out newsletters. And it said on one of the newsletters, the Australian Fencing Federation is starting a parafencing program. And here's an email address, alex.andre@fencing.gov.au. And to be very honest, and this is a little embarrassing, but I've been in the hospital for a long time, Brandon.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I had a little socialization, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself a
Yeah.
couple of things. Firstly, I'm disabled now and I don't have a community. So
Uh-huh.
I might find a community within these people that I might meet that will help me understand who I am in this new body with limitations. So it was very selfish for socialization. Two, Alex.Andre sounded like a cute name, and
Okay.
Alex.Andre could have been a cute guy. And, fencing, with white outfits, like, oh, that's all very,
Yeah.
James, so I'm for all of these very, selfish reasons. I'm thinking this is going to be, one, athletic, fun, socialization, meet new people.
Yeah.
So for all of these reasons, I start emailing Alex, and they say, come and have a try.
Oh,
So
wow.
I rock up to the gym to go and have a try, which is what you do, because the coach can't really know what kind of challenges or abilities you have from an email. So,
Absolutely.
and there are varying degrees of ability as it relates to what you need to be able to do for wheelchair fencing. So I rock up, and Alex is short for Alexandra. So those
Oh,
romantic notions I had were out the window, that
yeah.
Alex was going to be, some 6'4", fencing.
Long haired guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was all gone. But no, Alex is a lovely coach, and she laughs because I've been quoted on the Paralympics Australia website for telling this exact story. So it's not new. Um, and she forgave me. She was like, "Thank you, I'm
Yeah.
complimented."
Uh-huh.
And though I went into this gym and I'm like, "Where's everybody at?" And she's like, "You're the first."
Oh, wow.
I'm like, "Okay." So I take a lesson. She's like, "Would you like another lesson?" I said, "Yes." And third lesson, and she said, "You're very good at it. Would you be interested in representing your country?" And I'm like,
Look at it right.
I'm not an athlete.
Yeah.
It's like, let me just put one thing out. I'm not athletic. I'm a
Uh-huh.
tech CEO.
Mhm.
And she's like, "No, you're really good at this."
Yeah.
And I she didn't know when she put that to me, because she didn't know me and she didn't understand that I had come from paralysis to
Oh.
walking, and in a short period of time,
Mhm.
that she was throwing the gauntlet to me, and how I would take that on would be 100, like 100%.
Mhm.
So in saying that, and how I interpreted that was two different things.
Mhm.
So when I agreed that I was going to do this and I was going to take this on, she was thinking 2032 Paralympic Games, and I was thinking 2024. And this is 2022. So
Yeah.
At
we
your
have
nature.
two variations on the theme, but I started posting about me parafencing, and a British parafencer named Gemma Collis started messaging me and challenged me to come to a
Ooh.
parafencing satellite competition in May of 2023. I
Okay.
hadn't been fencing 3 months, but
Oh.
in parafencing, as I've learned, you have to get beat to get better.
Uh,
Me being that I was doing lessons and being the first person in the program, there really wasn't anyone to train with. I could do lessons, but I couldn't spar or compete or do bouts, as we call them, by myself. So I
yeah.
needed people. So I had to go find people to fence with in order to improve myself.
Mhm.
And so I went to my first competition, and in wheelchair fencing, the most important tool that you have is your wheelchair. It is
Okay.
custom made for you. It is designed to suit your challenges, amputations, abilities, and it allows you to move as you can, because our wheelchairs are fixed in a chassis.
Okay.
So it's like soccer shoes and soccer players. You would not play a soccer game in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
Basketball, same. It's your thing. Our wheelchairs become our legs and our body.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
don't fence in anybody else's wheelchair competitively. But I didn't know this because I was as green as broccoli.
Yeah.
So I said to Gemma, my chair isn't made yet. I don't have a chair because I hadn't been in the sport long enough to get one
Yeah.
custom made.
Uh-huh.
She said, don't worry about it. I'll get you one. So I go to France and compete in a borrowed wheelchair that is not even
The
fit
right
for me
sizes. Oh, wow.
Mhm.
without a coach.
Yeah.
Like, she was baiting me because by me going, this was actually a qualifier for her for Paris because
Oh,
they needed
wow.
4 countries in the mix.
Yeah.
So she set me up. And
Okay.
in fencing, that's called a feint. When you fake someone out and you draw
Yeah.
them into an action, that's a feint. So
Okay.
she gave
Okay,
me
that's a new term.
a
Okay, I like that
logistic
term.
feint to get me to come out, and
Oh,
I
wow.
went. And
Mhm.
yeah, I got a beat down. I scored a few points, but I
Okay.
actually got the experience of competing that I did not have
Yeah.
in France in 2023 in May. And from that, that introduced me to the community that I didn't have in Australia.
Yeah.
And the international parafencing community from around the world is a beautiful family of lovely people. And Brandon, when I walked into that auditorium and
Mhm.
saw these athletes in their wheelchairs with disabilities that were related to mobility, it was, and I tell this story in grace, but it was like Monsters Inc.
Okay. I love
Honestly,
the movie.
everybody looked different,
Yeah.
and they looked at. I started crying
Oh,
because I
wow.
had never been in a room with that many disabled people before
Yeah.
for one reason.
Mhm.
And they all looked at me like, boy, aren't you interesting with what you got going on?
Yeah.
So it
Yes.
was equal admiration, if you would,
Mhm.
of what we were, but the overwhelm I had in the humility
Mhm.
of these athletes who had been in it for a long time, and I was new and there. I just, I couldn't believe that this was happening to me, that
Absolutely.
I was going to be in this room with these people and see that I was like them, to
Mhm.
find my people and then to develop a relationship that now is years old. I'm very proud to sit on the promotions committee for World Ability Sport for parafencing
Okay.
and be a poster child, set up the program in Australia. We now have a lot of athletes coming through for
Amazing.
2028 and 2032, but be the person to open the door, but really to find myself in parafencing, understand my disability to a new level and accept myself and
Mhm.
find that fighter in me. I mean, fencing is a combat sport. It's not like
Absolutely.
swimming. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not it is a team sport, but it isn't,
Yeah.
because you got to go 1-to-1 and head to
Yep. And
head.
that's
And
share.
when you're
Absolutely.
there, it is game on. So,
Absolutely.
it has been a beautiful experience for me to become a parafencer, to find my community and to lead, and also to take years worth of beat downs to get better, you
Absolutely. You
know?
keep leveling up. Stephenie, you are one absolutely amazing. Like, first off, we're gonna have to have you back. I want to say that we're gonna have to have
Yeah,
you back.
definitely.
I don't want to hold you too long today because I know you probably have things you got to do. But everything you've said to me today and my mother and our audience has been absolutely inspiring. Like, you're a person that when first off, you realize that God has a calling for you, and I love that from the starters.
Mm.
But you're a person that no matter how big the task is, from what I've learned about you today, is you don't mind going after it. From starting the publishing back in starting the publishing in Australia against these two giants and going through with that, to you deciding, you know what, I want to make sure that while I'm here that I touch at least 1 billion people's lives, to now overcoming being a 2% survival rate, to doing fencing because, hey, you're like, you know what, why not give it a shot? That is so inspiring to me. And sometimes people complain about small things, and you having that 2% of life, 2% survival chance, you hearing the people around you, I'm sure from even what you told me, you have a different outlook in life now about what's important and what your goal is, why you're doing your time here. And for you to quote that man, to saying,
Jack London.
to use my time says everything about you and what most people should do. And I'm just so happy for you coming on here. I do have a list of questions I want to ask you. I want to make sure my mom, because I don't want to hold you too much longer. Mom, did you have anything else that you had to?
No, I want her to hit the lightning round quickly, and then we
Okay.
can finish. Okay.
Stephenie, we have to have you back. Okay.
Yes, I'd love to come back.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. I'm gonna hit you with this lightning round, which can be quick. It can be one off or however long you want to take.
Sure.
One word that describes your spirit today.
Alive.
Hey, amen. A country that changed your life in a good way.
Kenya.
A country that taught you the hardest lesson.
Nigeria.
Absolutely. Faith in one sentence.
The absence of things not seen.
Amen. Your superpower after everything you've survived.
Resilience.
Amen. One travel rule you'll never break again.
Don't leave home without WanderSafe.
Yeah. Strongest person you know and why.
My son. He has had to live through some extraordinary circumstances and remains now a young man who I deeply admire for so many reasons, and the resilience he's had to show surviving with me through our challenges. He definitely is the strongest person I know.
Amen. I just want to say one small thing is kids are always watching. And I know that I am the man I am today because of my mom and my dad when he was alive. I saw them overcome so much. And that's the reason I never give up in my life and the reason I have the faith that I do. So I put that to my parents. And for you saying that about your son, I know that he looks at you and is inspired because you're probably his hero too.
Thank you.
A food you discovered abroad that you love.
Rambutans.
What are
Rambuntans?
those?
Yeah, what is it?
You got to look them up.
Okay.
They're like a prickly fruit on the outside, and then they have like a lychee inside.
Okay.
But they're called rambutans. Yeah, they're like tropical fruit.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good to me. A phrase you live by now.
Live your eulogy.
Ooh.
Oh, I love that.
To tell you what that means,
Yeah, please do.
is that you take time, you find a quiet place, and you write what you want said at your funeral till you run out of words or paper or ink or whatever. But you write it all down, and once you got it out, you then make that your business plan for your life. You
All
make
right.
it your business plan for your life. So if you write down Stephenie was a ... good person, good neighbor, whatever you write that you want said at your funeral, if you live by that, that becomes what is said at your funeral, no matter where in the piece you die. So live your eulogy is my motto.
Hey, I love it. One message for someone fighting for their life right now.
Don't give up.
Amen.
Don't give up. The road might look impossible and you can't see it, but the universe builds a bridge. And we can't see where that bridge is taking us. We don't know what that bridge is made of. And someone wise told me this when I woke up from the coma.
Yeah.
That bridge could be the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, the Sydney Harbor Bridge, or an Indiana Jones Bridge.
Yeah.
You don't know what the bridge is made of. You don't know how long, but you also don't know what it's taking you over.
Yeah.
And it could be crocodiles and alligators or a duck pond, but you don't know. But when you get on the other side, you will know. So you
Amen.
have to just trust the bridge.
Okay. I love it. And this is a final question, Stephenie. When the world looks at your life years from now, what do you hope they say about the legacy you left behind?
She did what she said she was going to do.
Amen. I know that's right.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
Stephenie, you have been absolutely wonderful and delightful. And I am so grateful for your time. Please do a couple things. Send me the picture you want because I'll have this done pretty quick. And then any of the
Right.
websites that you want to have, I'll put it in that podcast. Like WanderSafe, I think you mentioned. I know you sent me a
Yes.
couple of things, but if you had it specifically what you wanted, you can even text it to me in WhatsApp and I'll make sure to have that in there.
Great.
Awesome.
Terrific.
And then, Mom?
And Stephenie, I want to tell you, you have been such a delight. You have opened my horizon, I must say. I look forward to the rest of the chapters of my life. I've had a wonderful life. I've made a great impact. and I continue to write. I'm writing a book myself. And every time I write a chapter and every time I said, I'm just about finished with my book, then I hear God whispers to me and he says, oh, no, not quite.
You're
You
not
have
done
another
yet.
chapter. And I escaped death 7 times. So with that 7
Wow.
times, I know that God is keeping me here to continue to make that impact as I see in you. And so
Amen.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And you reached
Absolutely.
that billion. Now you're going on your second billion. Is that correct?
That is, and that's what we're doing with
Good.
WanderSafe
I
and
understand.
Parafencing, is inspiring people to keep reaching and keep doing and have purpose and have faith. And you know, I'm so excited that I'm able to make an impact with the Global Fund and being able to, you know, eradicate malaria, which is my killer, and do something for global health. So that's been a great and wonderful experience to know that people who receive those bed nets and vaccinations and the care and the children that we can save, I will never meet, but I had
Mhm.
something to do with it, you know.
Oh,
Amen.
yes.
Absolutely. Well,
Great.
So when
Stephenie,
my book
oh,
comes
you're
out,
best.
Brandon, I
Yes,
will
say it.
send you a copy and we
Please
can come
do.
back and have another chat. Yeah, that'd be
Yes, and
brilliant.
you're always welcome on it anytime. If something that just when the book comes out, please come back. If there's something like, hey, Brandon, I got some more stuff I'd like to, you're welcome anytime. Just send me a message.
And
Thank you
Stephanie,
so
we
much.
also get questions from our audience, our
Yeah.
viewers.
Uh-huh.
They come and ask questions of different people, our guests. And so we will put the questions together and make you aware of that so you can come back and speak on those issues.
Sure thing. I'd love to. I'd love
Okay.
to anytime,
Absolutely.
Brandon. Mama Raj, so lovely to meet you. God bless you. You
All
guys have
right.
a
God
Take
bless
care.
you as
Great
fantastic
well.
job,
day.
Thank
Stephenie. Thank you
you.
so much.
Oh,
You're
exceptional.
wonderful,
Let's
mom.
clap. Oh,
Yeah,
clap
yeah.
time.
Have a great day, Stephenie.
Exceptional.
Bye
Yes,
bye.
ma'am. Well, I'll see here. Make sure I do this right.